welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader, and we have a new series that we are going to dive into today. So we're going to start the Explicitly Yours series by Jessica Hawkins, and the first book in that series is called Possession. We meet Lola Winters. She's a waitress slash assistant manager at a bar on the Sunset Strip called Hey Joe's. It's a landmark. It's been there forever. It used to have live bands, but as time went on, they kind of changed. And so now it's just kind of like a little dive bar. Not too many people come through there. So her boyfriend, his name is Johnny. He's the manager there. And they've been together for about 9 years. She hears the engine revving up like outside, and it's like super loud, and then she hears this loud noise, and then so she goes outside. So there's these young kids, they're on the sidewalk, they're revving up their cars, and so she yells at them to stop, like cut it out, because there's like people inside. They don't, so she kicks the fender and puts a dent in the guy's car. So the young guy, he jumps out and he's like, you did in my car. And then Johnny comes out. He tells the guy, we don't call the cops around here. We handle things ourselves. So then the kids, I guess that kind of scared them off, and they leave. And then Johnny goes back inside. There's this guy that's outside and he's staring at Lola. And he looks out of place. He's in this like super nice suit. And it doesn't look like he would be on the strip. So he also has a couple of guys with him. And so she just yells at him, in or out, and he's like, in. So he comes in, and so do the other guys that were with him. So she asks him, like, are you in the right place? Because, he doesn't look like he fits here. He has this nice suit on. This is dive bar. She wants to know, are you sure you're in the right place? So he says, yeah, I'm in the right place. Like, I brought these guys here to, have a good time. So we know they're in the business world. You can kind of tell that. And then right off the bat, Lola loves his voice. And of course, he's like sexy physically, nice, tall, broad shoulders, all that great stuff. So they have a little back and forth banter. And then Johnny comes out and he talks with Bo. We find out that's his name. So Bo asks about the bar, and Johnny tells him everything. Back in the day, it was like this super hot spot for new talent. And then in the 80s, Mitch, who's the owner, wanted to start making people pay to play, and that's what really like screwed it up. And then it just kind of went downhill after that. So now they just kind of have they're normal customers, but it's only like a few of them, not many at all. So apparently Mitch, the owner, he's thinking about selling the place, and so Lola brings up, we really need like a day off. And Johnny was just kind of like, in a few weeks when everything gets worked out with the bar, we can do that. And so then Lola kind of starts having this thought about this drunken night that they had, where they had like this kind of like wild sex, and she like truly enjoyed it. Like he was smacking her ass and everything. And so I was just kind of like, this is weird, because like they're having this conversation in front of somebody you ain't even fucking know, right? So that was just kind of crazy to me. So she didn't say the spanking ass part in front of the guy, but it was just still the fact how she was just like, you remember that one night? It's just like, I don't know. I was just like, why are you saying that in front of like a whole new stranger? Like, I don't get that. But anyway, I digress. So they have a dartboard at the bar, and so Bo asks, Lola to play. And Johnny was, at first she's like, nah, but then Johnny's like, no, she's the best at it. She'll play. So they make a wager of $100. Johnny tells Lola, I'll cover the bet for you, because she's like, I don't have $100 on me. So they play. Johnny walks off, which is crazy to me that you just gonna leave. I mean, it could be major trust that you have. I don't know, but the way she would describe how she would catch like Bo just kind of staring at her, I'm just kind of like, how does your man not see this, and why would he leave you in the presence of that? I don't know. It just seems kind of weird to me. But anyway, because he was actually the one that was kind of pushing for her to play darts, because she was like, no. But Johnny's like pushing her to play it. So I'm just like, this is just weird. This is just weird to me. Lola and Bo, they have like this back and forth banner. He was asking her different questions, asked about her age. She's 27, I think, either 27 or 28. And Bo is about 37. Johnny isn't as old as Bo, but he's still a few years older than Lola. So they were talking about that. And he even asked, well, what would you do if this place was to close down? And this is where, again, they're having this, you know how you can kind of tell there's chemistry with people? You can see it a mile away. And reading this, there's no way you couldn't see this. So it's kind of like, okay, the Johnny guy, he's clearly distant. He's got to be. There's no way he's fully really present in this relationship. He can't be, because he is missing all signs that show like, okay, there is something here. Even if Lola's not giving this guy anything, you can tell this guy's feeling Lola, And yes, you should trust your partner, and it shouldn't be anything. But I don't know. I just kind of feel like if you see something, I don't know. Maybe you should just, I don't know, come talk to him, something. I don't know. But he was more focused on trying to go, because the bar had closed down. So he was more focused on being with the guys in the back playing pool, because that's what they do every night. So he's clearly someone, he has his, regimen, and he likes to stick to it, and he's not going to deviate. But sometimes I think you need to deviate. So she asked what kind of business he's into, and he says he's a venture capitalist. He's an investor. And that the guys that he brought in there, they're tech guys, and he's thinking of investing in them. So we also find out Johnny's boring. He doesn't really like any excitement. And it seems like she wants more out of life, but it's like Johnny doesn't. That would be a problem. That could definitely be a problem. I could see that. So Johnny basically just wants to stay managing a bar, and she, of course, would prefer to do something different. So that kind of answers the question that he, put to her about, what would you do if this place closed down? So then Veronica, who's another waitress there, which I'm like, why do they have all these waitresses and y'all ain't really that busy? But anyway, I digress. They were talking about, she walked in with the conversation about, what would happen if it closed. And Veronica was just like, I think you should go back to school. That's what you wanted to do with, graphic design. She makes the flyers for the business and was like, you should definitely get back into that. And so she says that, Johnny doesn't like change. And if she were to go back to school, then their schedules are going to change. To me right there, that's enough to just not be in that relationship, because how could someone not want you to better yourself because that means it would deviate from your current schedule? Like, how trash is that? That lets you know you really don't matter. Everything in that relationship is about that person. And that's sad. That's like super sad. So then we also find out a little bit more with the convo with Bo, that he's trying to understand, like, well, what did you do before working at this bar? And she never really told him exactly. She just said, I partied a lot, did some drugs, and when I met Johnny, he was non-judging, he accepted me. And I'm like, okay. So now this seems more so like a savior complex. Like, okay, you saved me from a life of destruction, and now I am forever indebted to you. Not cute. So Bo tells her that, he tells her he's attracted to her. And then he asks her if she's attracted to him. She won't answer him. So she says, I'm with Johnny. And he was like, that's not what I asked you. So she lost at darts. And then Bo went. He played pool with the guys. His group of guys had left earlier. And then Johnny beat Bo out of a bunch of money. Won back the $100 that she had lost playing darts, and then some. So then he goes over and he, wants to pay for the drinks that he had and to tip her. Well, he gives her $300. And she's like, that's too much. I'm not going to accept that. And so she felt like there was something behind that tip, and it was just too much. So Johnny comes over, and Bo asks for Veronica to give them a moment. Okay? So they begin to talk, and Bo offers to give Johnny the money for the bar. She automatically knew what the hell the next part of that deal was about to be. And she knew it wasn't going to be good. And so she made the comment, we only do business on the up and up. That's what Lola blurted out and said. And Johnny was like, let's hear him out. And he gives the deal. He wants Lola for one night. Johnny spazzes. He's like, what the fuck did you just say? And Bo just said it again. Just as normal. So he was like, we both will get what we want. So Lola told him no and to get out. Bo didn't move. Johnny comes from behind the bar. Lola saw this cold look in Bo's eyes, and she told Johnny stop because she didn't want him to get hurt. Well, that pissed off Johnny because one, she got in between them, and then that it was the fear that he was gonna get beat up. Like she didn't even have faith in him that he could beat the guy up. So he's all pissed off. So Bo leaves, but before he leaves his business card on the table and said, I'm just trying to give you an option to where, we both get what we want. And then he offered them $500,000. So he finally left. Johnny's pissed, told her, don't you ever do that again. They go home. He's giving her the silent treatment. And then he said, what did you mean by I don't want you to get hurt? And she was like, no. He said, you didn't think I could take him? And she's like, I didn't want you to getting in trouble. And you didn't see the look in his eyes. And he was like, I did because I was right there in his face. So she tells him, I need you here, not in jail or in a hospital. So then he was like trying to accuse her of flirting with him too much. And then I'm like, but wait a minute. You told her to go over there and flirt with him a little. Don't flirt with him a lot, but flirt with him a little bit. So that way, he'll come back and maybe he'll bring some of his business friends, right? So now you're accusing me of flirting with him too much. Get the fuck out of here. Like, come on. And then he even had the nerve to say to her that she had great tits and stuff. She was, and she's prettier than all the women in maybe 5 states. Who the fuck says 5 states, And then he says, but it's not $500,000 worth. Who the fuck would say that to their mate? Like, who the fuck would say that to their mate? To me, that lets you know he doesn't think that highly of you. He can't. He clearly can't. Because who the fuck would say that? So he totally pissed me off. And I was like, you know what? I knew he was trash from the beginning. He's a fucking trash ass person. And then he was like, oh, don't be offended. How the fuck I'm not supposed to be offended? And you telling me like you straight, but you ain't worth nobody giving you $500,000 for your pussy. Like, who the fuck says that? Bitch, I got offered, Like, who would say that? I would think you would tell her like your prices. There's no money, like there's no amount of money that I could put on this that will ever make me want to give you up or something. You know what I'm saying? But for you to like pretty much tell her you ain't worth that, wow, that lets you know what he really thinks of you. So then he wanted to fuck because he was all upset. And so he had her bend over. He started fucking her hard. And then he took his dick and he wanted to put it in her ass. But she was like, no, especially when he was being like so aggressive. And he's all like, I really need this. Bitch, you do not need to be in my ass. Like, come on. That's crazy. So then he said something else under his breath, but she couldn't hear him. And then he put it back in her cooch, pounded her until he finished. And then when he was done, he's like, are you okay? And then so then they both fell on the bed. Again, you see what type of lover he is. Even though he's upset, whatever. But I guarantee you this is probably basic sex with them to where he doesn't care if she climaxes or not. He don't give a fuck about her orgasm. He only cares about himself. And then she asked him some questions. And her last question was like, is this enough what we have now. And he didn't answer because he had already went to sleep and he was snoring. So the next day they go to a picnic in the park with their friends. Johnny's still on edge. And when they're sitting around with their friends, one of them says, how good Lola is with kids. So Johnny was like, kids cost money. And their friend was like, hell, I'm sure Lola wants a ring before that anyway. So then they start discussing like a wedding. And Lola's like, I'd just be fine having a little wedding in the park. We could get I could get a vintage dress from Melrose. And Johnny was like trying to make a joke out of what she was saying. And all this stuff about, I got to get you a big fat engagement ring before I can da-da-da-da. And she gets pissed and she walks off. And then he comes over and he's like, I was just trying to make a joke. And then brings up that I guess he had been looking up the bow guy online. And he's legit. What the fuck are you looking up this man for if this wasn't even an option? Right there, we got a problem. So then they have this back and forth about going to Hawaii because he's like, I want to take you to Hawaii and all this bullshit. And she's telling you she doesn't need all that. And you're on this bullshit about, no, but that's what I want to give you. So fuck what you want. It's about what I want to give you. Crazy. So then later that evening, she goes to do the laundry and she's emptying out his jeans. There's a card in there. Guess what? It's the fucking business card that Bo left on the counter, which means he took his ass back in there and went and got it. So again, he's willing to have you do this so he can get something that he wants. He don't feel no real affection for her. He can't. So Veronica brings up the offer when they go in that night to Lola about what she would do, and fucking Veronica made me laugh because she was just like, I'd fuck him for nothing. Like, as fine as that man is, it wouldn't take. This is an easy answer. So apparently Johnny had told her about it, and again, why do you feel the need to discuss this with someone except for the fact that you want her to do this? So a guy named Hank Walken comes in to the bar, starts asking questions about the place. He apparently wants to meet with Mitch, the owner, to discuss buying it. So Mitch comes back later that week and Lola goes to talk to him and tells her, he regrets how he really fucked up and started making the bands pay to play and not embracing the grunge era of the 90s. He didn't like the music and so he didn't want it there, but it was a huge success and he really missed out on that. So he told her that the Hank guy was offering $600,000 to buy it. And because apparently Mitch and his wife, they're moving closer to the grandkids. I can't remember where they're moving to. I don't remember. But they're moving closer. That's what they want to do. So they're ready to retire and basically get out of Dodge. So on the way home, Lola brings up the offer and said, she pretty much just laid it all out there and was like, if I do this, we can really make a change for our future. And she was like, sometimes you're more concerned about trying to keep the nostalgia of that place than what's actually going to be beneficial for us. And he was like, no, I do think about, how I'll never be able to have enough to take care of you. I do worry about that. So she basically got to the place where she wanted him to be honest about what he really wanted her to do. And he was like, I'm not going to push you into another man's bed, but I'm not going to stop you either. And that alone lets you know what it is. I want you to go do it, but I don't have the balls to tell you to go fucking do it. And to me, for you to say, I'm not going to tell you not to, you might as well just open your mouth and say it. Go fuck him. Go get the money so we can get what I want. You might as well say it. So, a couple days later, they go to Bo's office. They have a meeting about the agreement. Bo wants one night from sundown to sunup. And he can do whatever he wants to her. He can't hurt her or anything. And he has this NDA for them to sign and it protects them both. She's going to have to give an STD test and he will submit his as well. Johnny chimes in and says that she won't do it for anything less than $800,000. Bo gets upset, was like, that's not what we discussed. Johnny was like, again, she's not going to do it for anything less. So he threatened to rescind the offer, but she was like, it's got to make sense for our future for me to do this. Again, think about it. She's saying our. So she's still doing this with that thought process an hour. Don't get it twisted. She is attracted to this man. Okay? He fine. She attracted. But she's still doing it because she feels like this will benefit us. It'll keep Johnny happy. Right? That savior complex, trying to keep him happy, feeling forever indebted to him, that type of thing. So she got up to leave, and he told her $1 million for one night. And of course, that stopped her ass from walking out the door. So we've arrived at the day of the event. That's what we're going to call it. And it's an awkward day, as you would think it would be. They've already gotten half of the money. That was one of the details that Johnny was like, I want half now and half after everything's done. So they've already gotten the $500,000, and then after tonight they'll get the rest. So Bo comes to get her in a car service. I think his car driver's name was it Winter? I can't remember the name. And he's waiting in the car for her. So she tells Johnny, I'll only think of you. And he says that, it's going to be a busy night because it's Friday, and that'll help him keep his mind off of it. So she gives him this sensual kiss, and he was like, don't kiss him like this. So she goes to the car. She's dressed in like baggy jeans, one of Johnny's shirts, has a hair up in the bun, just trying to look non-sexy. So he tells her that's not going to work. He's like, I know what you're trying to do, and it's not going to work. He tells her to take the ponytail holder out of her head so that her hair can fall around her shoulders. And then he tells her that they're going to a charity event. And so he takes her to Rodeo Drive to get her this beautiful dress. She objects, of course. But she's still going. He tells her, this is my time. So they go in. He waits outside of the dressing room. She opens the door. She has on like these raggedy panties and bra. Girl committed to it, okay? She was going for raggedy outside and the undergarments as well. So she opens the door and tells him, you're really when she opened the door, he told her, he said, oh, you really committed this. But all it did was he just had the saleswoman go and get her some sexy lingerie. It didn't stop nothing. So while he had stepped away, she had texted Johnny that, everything was okay and that they were going to an event. And by the time Bo got back, the phone went off, and he was like, you belong to me tonight, and that means every part of you. And she was like, you don't think money can remove him from my heart? And he said, tonight it will. Shit. So she said something about, why are you wasting your time when we only have tonight? And he told her how he wanted to savor her. And the old girl was turned on because this was the stuff. It was the stuff she liked to hear. So it got her. So there's a salon next door. So she's all completely dressed up, gets her hair done, everything, nails done. He tells her why they're at the event, to not give them too much information. She took it as an insult. She felt like he was embarrassed of her, but he was like, the less they know, the better. That'll protect you when this is over. So she asked him again, why he chose her and not one of the bevy of women that he's normally with. And he told her he doesn't sleep with everyone. Sometimes a picture is just a picture. And he told her that basically this group of businessmen, he wants to kind of infiltrate, into these group of businessmen, but he's not married and they don't necessarily like his non-married ways. So he hasn't been out with a woman in public in about 4 months. We'll say in public. I don't know if he's been fucking or not, but in public, he hasn't been out with a woman in 4 months. So they get to the charity event. There are cameras everywhere. She, of course, has to hold his hand. They get to a woman from like this major TV network. She comes up. She's asking questions. And before she walked up to him, he plants a kiss on Lola. And the woman says, oh, is all hope lost for the women that want Beau Olivier? And she goes, by that kiss, I take it you two are serious. And he was like, of course. And the woman had her hand on his arm the whole time when she was talking to him. And Lola told the woman to get her hands off her man. And the truth was, she felt this tinge of jealousy. And she kind of freaked herself like, why am I feeling like that? Because you fucking like this man. That's why. So she tried to act like she was just playing a part, but she's not. I'm not buying that. So they get to the event. She meets the mayor, Mayor Churchill. And they have like this great banner, and the mayor says, she's different from the ones he usually brings because she actually talks. So then he offers them a seat at his table, which old Bo has never been offered before. So they go to the table, and she brings up Hey Joe's, and he stiffens. So she tells this table that that's where they met. So she tells the group about him coming in, looking out of place. And then the conversation kind of moves to something else because they were talking about the bands and stuff like that used to go there. And the mayor was saying how he used to get drunk and all this type of stuff there. And so that kind of eased it off of about them. They eat dinner, they have a little conversation, and then they get up to leave. The mayor comes over to him and says, we need to get a meeting on the books. Have your secretary set it up. So they leave, but it isn't in the car that they came in. It's going to be in the Lamborghini. Is it Aventador? I can't say it, but it's a Lamborghini. So they go fast, and they head towards the Strip, which is where Hey Joe's is. And she's like, what are you doing? And he was like, listen, I'm not that cruel. So they go to this little spot. They have a bourbon. It's like a 23-year age bourbon. It had just come in, so they had it. It was nice. They leave. They walk towards a strip club, and she stiffens up. And it's like, I can't go in there. So we get a little backdrop of her past. So when she was 18, she started stripping. Not at this place, but at a place called Cat Shop. So her mother was furious with her when she found out what she was doing. Her mother had even told her, that she didn't want her, but that wasn't the first time that the child had heard that, okay? She describes how much she loved to dance and how it made her feel like she had power over the men when she would dance for them and they would give her money. This is kind of weird because now you finna sell pussy for money. I'm just saying, it's just kind of weird. So she had met Johnny there, and he, of course, had given her that ultimatum about she had to quit, and thus the reason she was partying, taking drugs and shit like that. So the whole thing of, he saved my life. So they go in, they have another bourbon, and look at a couple girls, and then they go back to the VIP room. There are 2 girls in there, and she starts thinking, I should have known he was going to want a threesome. This man paying $1 million. But he made her kiss one of the girls, and then he asked her if she liked it. She said no, and so he sent the girls out. So then he told her to get on her knees and to take it out, and so she did, and she gave him a blowjob, and he came in her mouth, and she was so turned on by this. So they leave, and he asked her what she wanted to do with the money, and she said, I'm doing it. I'm buying Hey Joe's. But then Bo slammed on the brakes and said, no, tell me what you want. You're the one doing all the work. She describes that if Johnny had to go somewhere else, he would feel like a failure. And this is going to give him a future. And Bo was like, no, what did you tell Johnny you wanted with the money? And she realizes Johnny never even asked her what she wanted. And that right there, again, I got to lay on my goddamn back. And bitch, you're not even going to ask me what I really want? That's crazy. And the fact that she doesn't see it is irking me. Like, really, girl? Like, you don't see that? But see, when he pointed that out, then it got it shit. Made her think fuck. That is, crappy as hell. Like, he didn't even ask me. So they talk about her mom, because they pass by Lucky Egg, which is this diner where her mom works. And then they head for Beverly Hills. They get to the Four Seasons in Beverly Hills, and when they get in the elevator, they were it was they were super quiet. So then before they go into it's probably I think it was probably the penthouse suite, he asked her, basically he wants her to admit that she wants this. And so she doesn't really fully admit it because it's kind of well, I'm here to do it, that should suffice. So then they go in, and he tells her to find him in the bedroom, and then he tells her to get on her hands and knees and crawl to him. And so she does, but she finds that it turns her ass on. She's getting wet. So he gets her to the bed. They hear a knock from room service. He has her go get it, but then the bellboy needed a tip, so he still had to see the guy. So the bellboy, all he had brought was just strawberries and whipped cream. So they started feeding each other, and it was all sensual and everything. And then he starts fingering her, and then he puts his fingers in her mouth, the same ones, and she'd never done that before. She never tasted herself, and she liked it. So then he finally made her admit that this is what she wanted, and then he plunged inside her. And then, of course, it was amazing. He made her ride him, and then he came inside her, and he kept fucking her because she still hadn't come yet. That's my thing right there. He was concerned about her coming. But he says such nasty shit. So he says to her, like, I just love seeing my cum as I keep fucking you. Shit, like, damn. So when they were done, after she came, she's hungry. He ordered some breakfast food. At first the hotel was like, we don't have anybody, right now that can do that. But he's like, as much as I pay, I should be able to get it. And he's like, if not, I'll have to reconsider staying tomorrow night. So he gets off the phone, and he can see like this funny look on her face. And he asks, what's wrong? And she's like, you're bringing someone else here tomorrow, aren't you? And he was like, no, I'm not. And she told him, I don't want you to. I don't want you to bring someone here after what we just had. Shit. So he was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then he tells her, I wanted to be with you. In other words, I want your ass again. So he says to her, what would it take for me to have you? And she was like, you know why that can't happen? And he was like, why? Because of Johnny? He didn't protect you. And that hit her in her fucking gut. Because let's be honest, he sold her out. He sold her out to get his dream. Because he didn't have enough drive to get it. That's what he did. It's the truth. So they started up again, but he had to stop because room service arrived, and he was like, let's just refuel. She wants to eat on the bed at first. Of course, he's like, why? She's like, no reason. Let's just do it. So they did. And they were like in super duper giddy, lovey-dovey couple mode. And so she even like put syrup on him and licked it up. It was all kind of stuff they did. So then she started thinking about Johnny, and she brought him up. And Bo was like, the rules haven't changed. Don't bring him up unless I tell you to. So then he takes her to the window, and she keeps saying, you can't control my thoughts. And her robe flies open. She's by the window, and she's like, people can see me. He's like, I don't care. And then he plunges inside of her. And then he tells her, tell me you were thinking of him earlier. And she was like, I wasn't. I can only think of you. So then he takes her to bed, lays her on her back, and he eats her pussy, makes her come super hard. And then he wanted to just hold her and sleep. And she's thinking like she wanted to keep fucking. So she falls asleep in his arms. They wake up the next morning, and Bo was like, it's time. So she was like, I need to take a shower. But he plunged into her again after he started kissing on her. He made her come again, and he came inside her. So then he's like, we gotta go. She was like, I need to take a shower. He's like, there's no time. She was like, I'm disgusting. I have to take a shower. He was like, I'm not going to argue about this. We gotta go. And if you don't dress yourself, I'll do it for you. You're still on my time. So then he says that this went better than what I thought. And she was like, what did you think? He said, well, she said, like, what do you mean? Like, what went better? He said, buying a person. Fuck. She goes off on him. She yells at him, I'm more than just a body. You may have bought my body for a night, but I'm more than that. And he just kept saying shit to piss her off. They go down to the elevator. They go down in the elevator. They don't speak. He's coming with her to be dropped off. And she, of course, was like, you don't need to be there. He's coming. He tells Winter, the driver, get moving. So then they're in the car, and then he apologized to her, and he says, I didn't mean what I said. He's like, I just don't want you to leave. And he thought that them being angry at each other would make this easier to let go of, but it's not. So he asked her, let Johnny have the money and just be with me. And she was like, I can't. But he was like, he left the door open for her, and he told her she has his number and the offer still stands. So she gets out of the car, she looks back once, and then she heads inside. Oh my gosh. What did you all think of this? This was, oh my gosh. This was a lot. So the next book in this series is going to be called Domination. And we're going to dive into that one next week. This one was good. I had a few rants in this video because it was just so very rant worthy. Like, that guy Johnny just pisses me off to another level. Because it's like, he makes comments, like, I can't do anything else, and I don't have any other skills. Like, what am I going to do? It's all like, poor me, poor me, poor me. But it's like, it's cool if you want to own a bar, right? Or you want to manage a bar or whatever, and that's what you like. Everyone has different types of ambition. That's fine. But it's the fact that he doesn't do anything to make it happen, right? Himself. He waits for her to do it. And she had made that comment like he waits for her to do it. If she didn't do anything, they would never move forward in any kind of way. And so I feel like that's probably why he went and got her. Off the pole, kind of, maybe. I guess we can say that. I feel like that's why he got her, because he got someone that would forever feel indebted to him. And he doesn't have to work hard, right? Because she craved stability, some normalcy, and that's what he gives her. And so I feel like doing that, it was never going to be enough for her for the rest of her life. But she was willing to do it because I think she really did love him. But then I kind of wonder if it was, again, more so like that savior, that, hero complex. Like, oh, you helped me get out of this. You know what I mean? So is it really love, or is it just that you feel indebted to him? I'm curious about that. I don't feel like either one of them could have fully loved each other, but I think she was committed to their relationship and committed to having a future with him. I think maybe she does love him. I'm finna talk myself out of it. Maybe she does love him the best way she knows, but I feel like this man, Bo, has awakened something in her that she has probably never felt for Johnny. And I guarantee you now it's confusing. Like, oh, shoot. But he brought up great points when he told her, like, he didn't protect you. Did he even ask you what you wanted? He said nothing to you. Because I feel like in Johnny's world, it's what Johnny wants, and that's it. So I don't like Johnny. I am all about Team Bo. And so we are going to see what happens in Domination next week. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section, in the discussion board. If you are in the market for a new beautiful notebook, I do have some of those for sale, and that link is going to be down below in the description section as well. I truly do appreciate you guys for your support. Make sure you like and subscribe. And as always, thank you for tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.